From getting sick of hearing about the young Spaniard to running out of challengers at featherweight, here's why Alexander Volkanovski hopes for Ilia Topuria to get the title shot. The champ has had enough of the hype train about Ilia and wants to put him back in his place. While talking on ESPN's DC and RC, the great said that lately people have been raving about Topuria and how awesome he is in the octagon. Even though Volk's focused on taking on Yair Rodriguez for now, he hopes to face Ilia in the near future. Apparently, he sees some holes in Topuria's game, but he refused to say what they were because he doesn't want to take away the hype from the rising star. Don't get me wrong here, Alex respects El Matador, but he thinks that the Spaniard just isn't on the same level as him. Daniel Cormier highlighted how good Topuria's basics are, and Volk believes that they might work against other fighters but won't get Ilia the same results against him. Having said that, the Aussie clarified that he still thinks that it's going to be a great fight and can't wait to get his hands on the Spaniard. On the other hand, Topuria's hype is reaching new levels because of how he dominated Josh Emmett. The two clashed heads at UFC Jacksonville, and they gave the fans something to remember them by. The match was insanely one-sided in Ilia's favor, but Emmett displayed an amazing heart during the whole 25 minutes, refusing to get finished by the Spaniard. The fight would have been over in the early rounds if Topuria was facing someone else in the octagon that night. But he still managed to secure a win by unanimous decision. There was even a 42-50 by the judges, which is one of the rarest scorecards you'll ever see. Topuria was simply too good on his feet because he was never in Josh's range and was closing the distance whenever he wanted. This allowed him to land his own counters at will, and this wasn't any random guy Topuria was fighting, because Emmett fought Yair for the interim title not too long ago at UFC 284. Ilia nearly dropped the veteran by the end of the second round and tried to capitalize on it in the next one, but Josh somehow survived all of it, even though blood was gushing from the top of his left eye. Topuria's incredible performance got him a nod from some of the biggest names in MMA like Charles Oliveira, who said he loved the fight and was excited to see how it played out. Ben Askren was so impressed that he predicted Ilia to be the next in line for the belt, and Thiago Moses went a step further, asking the UFC to give El Matador the title shot immediately. On the other hand, Alan Jouban declared the young Spaniard to be the best boxer in the UFC, which is pretty huge cause Max Holloway's still active. Topuria obviously has his eyes on the title, and he made no effort to hide it. During the post-match press conference, he said his next fight should be against Volkanovski because the Aussie's time at the top is coming to an end soon, and it's gonna be his hands that take the title from him. Gotta admit, it's refreshing to see so much confidence from a guy who's only 26 right now, but the road to the title won't be so easy. Since Volk's facing Yair at UFC 290, if he somehow loses the match, then the promotion is gonna give him an instant rematch, given how long the Aussie reigned as champ. If that happens, then Topuria would have to patiently wait for his turn. On top of that, the champ is also chasing a rematch with Islam Makhachev for the lightweight title. He's been talking about it a lot because of how close he was to winning at UFC 284, but that would leave Ilia on hold forever. Obviously, Holloway is in the mix as well, because the man really doesn't know when to stop, and even though he's lost thrice to Volk, Max is still beating all the other top contenders in the division. After all, the interim champ, Yair, lost to Holloway too, so it's only a matter of time before he builds a strong enough case to land a rematch with Alex. Topuria is no fool though. He knows that there are a lot of factors at play, so he isn't holding his breath for a fight against the featherweight champ. In an interview with Ariel Helwani on the MMA Hour, the young Spaniard admitted that Volk might be busy, and that would mean a long waiting period for him to get the title shot. But he isn't sitting through it. The man's still young, and he's enjoying all the attention from his Spanish and Georgian fans for repping them in the UFC. That doesn't mean he isn't gunning for the title though. He just knows it'll come to him eventually, since there is no better fight to make. If he can't get into the octagon with Volkanovski right away, then he's up for throwing hands with Holloway instead. But he has his conditions for the fight, telling the UFC he'll only do it in Spain. After all, Max is still the top contender in the division. Ilia would cement his shot at the belt, if he beats him. And his reason for picking Spain as the venue is heartwarming, because he wants to give back to the fans who supported him on his rise in the UFC. I mean, even the soccer superstar Sergio Ramos was in attendance in his fight against Emmett, which is an amazing fan to have on your sidelines. Topuria is the only Spaniard on the featherweight division right now, and he wants to bring the sport to his adopted country. But it has to be Holloway that he wants to face in Spain. A big name like that would do wonders for his resume, and it'd obviously be a massive event for both the country and the UFC. Honestly, Topuria deserves all his flowers, but that won't keep his hunger for fighting the champ down for too long. Everyone knows how well-rounded of a fighter the Great is, but Ilia has all the tools to give him a run for his money. DC pointed out that El Matador's basics reminded him of Alex in the old days, because everything was perfect. The fundamentals of boxing were a plus point, because Ilia always had a hand on his chin to protect himself. A lot of fighters start dropping their guards in the octagon, especially when they tire out after a couple of rounds, but that isn't the case with Topuria. Cormier claims that the young contender didn't gas out against Josh, but just when he felt a little tired in the final round, he cleverly took the fight to the ground. Volk's stamina is one of his greatest strengths, because the man never seems to break a sweat. Ilia isn't on the same level right now, because it was his first 5-round battle, but given some time, he might be able to match Alex as well. Wrestling is a different game altogether though, because Volk seems to have infinite tools in his arsenal, and as he showed against Islam, he can even match Dagestanis on the ground if he needs to. Topuria has a background in Greco-Roman wrestling, and he's a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but I doubt he can match the Aussie's explosive power. None of that matters to Ilia though, because he's confident that he can finish off Volkanovski in a few rounds, or even go the distance with him if that's what it takes. That may sound like a big claim at first, but so far, the young Spaniard has managed to back up all his talk. Plus, he's got great heart when it comes to fighting, and he showed it against Jai Herbert when he got stunned with a head kick in the opening round, but came back stronger and finished his opponent off in the next one. Topuria also said that he's willing to fight Alex anywhere in the world, and Volk might just take him up on the offer because he's all out of new challengers. The reigning champ has beaten everyone in the division, so there's no one left for him to fight anymore. Volk heard rumors about the UFC matching Topuria with someone else in the division, but he doesn't want that. Volk wants to stay active as he can, and to do that, he needs contenders for the title. With Ilia's on the rise, the champ wants the strong Spaniard all to himself, because he thinks they'd make for a great match for the fans, given how impressive El Matador has been so far in his career. So fortunately for the fans, the chances for the fight to happen are on the up and up. So there you have it, folks. From running out of challengers at featherweight to getting sick of hearing about the young Spaniard. That was why Alexander Volkanovski hopes for Ilia Topuria to get the title shot.